Now typically the money in flatbedding is going to be in the short hops. So your 1-day loads, possibly 2-day loads, but that can be a lot of work. So is long haul trucking pay worth it in the flatbed market? Well, I always show you my numbers every single week, and this week is no different. So this week is a long haul trucking week in flatbed trucking, so I'll let you decide for yourself. Stick around. Welcome back to another edition of the Weekly Weigh-In, where I go over all of my numbers for the week. I try to be transparent so that way you can take that information, you can learn from either my successes or as well as my mistakes. I try to put all the information out there. I don't sugarcoat it, I don't mislead any information, I just give you the facts. So typically, like I said earlier, what I try to do is I try to run short hops. In flatbed, generally the money is in 1, maybe 2-day loads. That's where you're gonna make your most money, but that's also a lot of work. But in the trucking industry, you need to be adaptive. And the beginning of the year, we've seen it was a little bit shaky. The freight volumes were down. The freight rates dropped a little bit from last year. That's to be expected in the first quarter. We're in February. We've already seen an increase in the volume, as well as the rates will follow. But I've seen some good rates, seen some bad rates. But as that volume goes up, simple supply and demand, the rates will return as well. But can you make money in the long haul running flatbed? Well, this week I adapted, and it seemed to be that the money was in the long haul. So let's go over my numbers from this week, and I'll let you decide. I was at home last week, so there was no weekly weigh-in last week. There was nothing to report, so why would I put out a video? But I came out of the house and I did not pick up a load until Tuesday. So this is actually a shorter week for me. It's 1 day short. Even though it was 1 day short, still did pretty good. Came out of Houston and ran over to Longhaul, Louisiana. I don't know if I'm saying that right. I'm gonna spell that right here down below. If you could phonetically tell me in the comments how to say that, I would be greatly appreciative. I like to speak properly. I don't always do so, but maybe you guys know, I don't know, some of my Cajun followers or some of my French people out there. If you could let me know how to say that, it'd be greatly appreciated. But out of Longhaul, Louisiana, ran up to Delaware City, Delaware. The deadhead on that out of Houston was 162 miles, and the loaded miles on that was 1,363. So the total mileage was 1,525 total miles. The pay on the load was $2,678.37. So when you break down just the loaded miles on the pay, the loaded pay was about $1.96.5 per mile. But when you add in back in that deadhead, the total pay on the mileage was $1.75.5 per mile. That's not bad on a long haul, on a long haul trip. And then out of Delaware City, we deadheaded over to Hunt Valley, Maryland. That was a 77-mile bounce. The loaded miles from Hunt Valley, Maryland down to Haltom City, Texas, which is close to Fort Worth, is 1,402 miles. So the total mileage on this trip is 1,479. The pay is $2,685.02. So the loaded pay on this trip, just the loaded miles, is about $1.91.5 per mile. But once you add the deadhead in, doesn't drop too much, does drop down to about $1.81.5 per mile. So also not bad for a long haul type trip. So that was the only 2 loads that I ran this week. The total, we're going to add all this together, the total deadhead for the week was 239 miles. The loaded miles was 2,765 miles for a total of 3,004 miles for the week. The total pay for the week was 5,363 miles and 39 cents. So on the loaded miles alone, that's about $1.94 per mile. And when you add back in the deadhead for the week, the total was about $1.78.5 per mile. So overall, that's pretty good, and considering that I lost a day, still made almost 5,400 for the week, that's a success to me. I think that that's a good week, especially for the first quarter. Can you do better? Sure you can. Can you do worse? Probably a lot easier to do worse than to do better, especially being that this is February. Freight volume's been a little scary lately, but you guys hang in there. It is coming back. I guarantee it. Well, there are no guarantees in life, but let's just say I'm very optimistic. Take that information that I just gave you now, and keep in mind this is only 1 week. Keep in mind. So take that information that I gave you, but bear in mind this is only 1 week. It's great if you're watching this and you're going to apply this maybe next week or the week after. But if you're watching this at a later date, well, the market is very volatile, and you must keep that in mind. You need to have a game plan for what you do, but you need to have multiple game plans for what's going on. If you're a student of the markets and freight volumes and freight rate and the hot markets, you're going to do better out here than if you just get set in your ways. Now, if you're on a dedicated route, that's a different story. You should probably watch a different video. But if you're trying to learn this, always be adaptive, always be studying, be a student of the market, and you will be a success. So if you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. I'll leave that up to you. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give it a thumbs down. I'll leave that for you to decide. Consider subscribing down below. Ring that notification bell so you know when my next weekly weigh-in's coming out next Sunday. I also do other videos, securement videos, truck driving tips, as well as vlogs. So you'll be notified as those as well. But as always, don't forget, stay driven.